So January is over, and I guess I should tell you what I read this month. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. This is the time for a January reading wrap up, and this is all the books that I read this month with a lot of changes that I've been kind of going through at this turn of the year. It's been a little hectic, but I have managed to read a little. Quality wise, it was pretty good for the month of January. I have read four full novels and like 7 short stories. And yes, apparently I'm reading short stories now, which is rare occasion for me. But this month I just got into it. I read like a whole collection of a little sci-fi stories, and I finally got to the Taylor Jenkins Reid short story in her Reid universe, An Evidence of the Affair, which I did not know that it was like post Evelyn Hugo work. For some reason, I thought it was older one that's not connected to that universe, but it is. I finally got to read it. I've been meaning to for like a long time, but then again, short stories is not my usual thing, and I guess this is just been the month. I've been working only part time, so kind of a little bit more time, but there's been like new job and everything, just like big adjustments in my life. But now that's settled down, hopefully it will go a little bit easier for me. Anyways, today we are talking about the books that I've read this month in January. So this month I have finally finished the Bill Hodges trilogy by Stephen King. The last book in this was End of Watch. So this is the Mr. Mercedes trilogy. I don't want to swear, but I loved the first book, the Mr. Mercedes book. That was the perfect book. Everything worked for me. Everything was so engaging. The characters, the structure, the plot, everything. Then the second book came around, the middle one. That was Finders Keepers, by the way. And while like the plot itself was interesting and the structure was similar, but it felt like totally different book from like a different series. We didn't have like our main character show up until like half through the book, and he was barely there and barely affecting any events at all like until the end. So that was weird. Like on its own, that was like a good book. I'm not talking about this one right now. I'm talking about the Finders Keepers. Talking about this one. This is the second book. That was mixed bag. So like on one hand, I like the story. It was well written. And on the other hand, why is this in this trilogy? Like it could have been just separate book if you wanted to write the story. But it feels like publishers or author just like decided like I want to write this book, but like let's just throw it into the Bill Hodges trilogy because I don't have any other ideas. And he just like throw in a little sprinkles of Bill Hodges and little connections to the first book, but like I don't know, like it was weird. I still like gave it I think 4 stars because like just on its own merit, like it was a good book, but weirdly disconnected from the trilogy itself. While love this one, this is the first one, Mr. Mercedes. That was so good. And the End of Watch, while more connected, we're going back to the main plot of the trilogy and the main conflict, also felt a bit different. Suddenly we're like in a little bit magical realism territory, which the first 2 books didn't have none of that. And I do understand that this is Stephen King, and I think this is kind of like universe wise it went to be a part of the like his like Gifted Kids. I don't want to say series because they're not really like series, but in that like mini universe of his, which I think he's got like several. I had to like really go through it and research so I know like what's connected, what's not, and like what order to read the books of his, which I've been kind of going through like his full bibliography. Like I have quite a bit of his books that I'm planning to read. I do like his writing. So for the premise, I don't want to spoiler the third book, so I'm gonna just talk about the first one for now. A mass murder occurring at the town hall where somebody rammed into the crowd in this Mercedes car and killed several people, injured a lot of others, and all that. And we have Bill Hodges, who is a retired detective. This was his last case, but it wasn't solved. Killer is still out there, so we have 2 perspectives. From one side, we have Bill, who's retired, who's kind of depressed depressed. He doesn't know what to do with his life after his retirement. And we have another point of view from the Mr. Mercedes, the Mercedes killer, right? And he's kind of been a little bit obsessed with Bill and a little bit of stalking, and he still like wants to kill more people and all that kind of stuff. So we have those two POVs kind of bounce off each other. He just can't help himself. He gets in contact with Bill Hodges and starts kind of taunting him and trying like to get him to eventually like essentially like unalive himself. But it has totally opposite effect, and it gives Bill like this newfound drive, newfound sense in life. That's all I can say about the premise. Then we have the second book, which is a new case technically, but also, as I said, Bill Hodges is like barely in there. He just kind of gets attached to the case pretty much in the end of the book. Our main characters just kind of pop up here and there a little bit, and that's pretty much it. End of Watch kind of goes, oh my gosh, how do I not spoiler? I'm not gonna talk about like what it's about, like you have to read the first two books, but it feels more connected to like the main plot that started like in the first book. But again, as I said, suddenly we go into this kind of magical territory, extra natural abilities, that's all I'm gonna say. And it just felt a little weird and out of nowhere for me for this specific universe, because I don't know, this is like more like a murder mystery thriller rather than straight up horror, even though like it is pretty graphic in places, but it's Stephen King and that's how he writes. I still liked it. I enjoyed it. It did finish up pretty nicely, the whole trilogy, the whole story. We will have kind of continuation in other books with some of the characters from these books. I wanted to read The Outsider, but luckily I found out in time that I have to read this trilogy first, because there's going to be like a lot of big spoilers in that one for this one, and there's going to be some characters from this trilogy as well. So I went in to like read this one. As I said, the first book was perfect, kind of went a little bit downhill, but I still gave this one 4 stars, just solid 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I already attached to the characters, I'm invested. It was good. The ending was emotional and the ending was still good. Another book that I've read this January is a fantasy. It is called The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. Hodgson. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. But yeah, The Raven Scholar, 5 stars, but it was a little bit of a touch and go there for a minute. So Raven Scholar is set in this fantasy world. So we have an empire, and in this empire the ruler rules for 24 years and then they have to give up the throne, no questions asked. This is a little bit kind of like more like a democracy, but not really. By the law, they are like the throne cannot be passed down genetically. Is that a thing? Like it does not go to your next of kin, right? So once you finished your 24 years, you have to give it up, and there is a competition with one. I want to say tribute, but that's 2 Hunger Games. Okay, one contender from each house. Like what are they called? Oh my gosh. There's like so much lore in this. It's hard to explain. Essentially, we have the 8 guardians, godlike entities, basically. No one has like seen them technically. They went away a long time ago, and there is a prophecy that like next time they come down, they're gonna end the world. It's more of a like a religion at this point in this history rather than a fact. There's like faithful and there's the ones who don't really believe. Each guardian kind of represents certain qualities in a person, and they have their own like institutions. People can pledge to a certain guardian and get to that like into that institution. So our main character Nima, she is the Raven. So she pledged to a raven. So she's a scholar. They're all about the knowledge. They're all about the wisdom and research and all that kind of stuff. So as I said, the 24-year reign of the current emperor comes to an end, and they have to held this competition to pick a new emperor. Each guardian presents their own representative and competitor for this throne, except for the dragon. because they're by the law they're not allowed to participate, but they are kind of like participating symbolically. I love like there's like so much lore behind this world, so much interesting history and beliefs. In current times, like magic is pretty much almost non-existent in this world. Well, it is existence, but like it's very little, to the point that a lot of people don't even believe in that and very skeptical when something magical happens, and they would like excuse everything, which Nima is kind of one of them. She does not believe in the guardians. She just thinks of it as like legends and like just some fate that kind of goes around, let's just say, but she does not believe like in magic, which she will be disappointed. A little spoiler alert. This was like so good. It's very well written. I love the choice of narrator, which is like it's in third person, but also it is kind of narrated by one of the this guardian entities, and that was so fun to read. We do have oh my gosh, a love story in this as well, but it is definitely not a romantasy. It's just a straight up fantasy with a love relationship subplot, which I gotta say was the weakest point of the book. First of all, the love interest character, he was so annoying. I don't know if anyone else had this problem with him, but like, oh my god, every time he was on my page, I'm like, shut up. I cannot stand him. So for like 80% of the book, he was that sort of character. It's not like enemies to lovers. It's more like friends to lovers, but they had a falling out and they haven't seen each other for like 8 years until this competition, which he is competing as a Fox representative. I just thought the conflict itself that kind of separated them was stupid. Sorry. It wasn't stupid, but like I thought it was a little bit stupid from his point of view to be like all up in arms about it and not to talk to her for like next 8 years. But whatever. Then he shows up and he's like, I hate you, you know. I mean, I don't know. Like on its own, I guess he is a character, and he is well done in that point, like that he is kind of doing what he's supposed to do. Like I hope he was supposed to be annoying, because I was annoying almost the entire time with him, and then he started to get like a little bit more interesting, and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God. We will have something. Maybe he'll get like less annoying, and he did kind of. But just as he starts to get less annoying and started to get more interesting, like the next fucking page, he says something, and I'm like, why? So yeah, that was like the one problem I had with this book, is the freaking Kane character. He did get like very interesting at some point at the end of the book, at least for a while. I hope that now that we've passed through that, and for the next book, maybe he'll get to be more tolerable, less annoying, and more interesting. I love Nima. Nima was a great character. At the Raven narration, I really loved that. It was a great choice for this book. There's like a lot of lore, but like nothing of it like feels exposition-y like a lot of books do. It was actually very, very interesting. There is like so much going on in this book, like, but it's more about like political intrigue rather than magic itself. The magic comes into play later as well. It really reminded me of the way the Game of Thrones world building works, where magic is kind of minimal and kind of subtle, and not even everybody believes in it, and the dragons are long extinct and stuff like that. It really reminded me of like that, and I really like that that aspect, that it kind of like really grounded sort of fantasy until it's not. This was so good. I don't know, like if not for the freaking Kane, it would have been like all 6 stars. And I think the ending made everything even like so much better, that I didn't even care about Kane anymore. And I'm just like, yeah, this is a 5-star for me. This was really, 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 really enjoyable. Cannot wait for the next book. Really want to continue. So far, it's announced as a trilogy, so we'll see. The next book is called something, The Fox of Winter something, I think, and doesn't give me hope because Kane is a fox. Hopefully, he's gonna get more interesting. Anyhow, 5 stars. Highly recommend it. So I had couple audiobooks this month as well. I have finished another Stephen King book, The Long Walk. I had such high hopes for this one since everybody seems to love it, and there is a movie adaptation for the first time since it's been published, and that came out, and everybody loves the movie. I haven't seen the movie yet. I am planning to at some point, but so like I don't know. I know they changed some things there from the book, but apparently it was very successful. I'm probably a little bit in the unpopular opinion camp here because I did not enjoy it much. I gave it 3.5 stars. Three just from me and just a half star just because it was like his very first written novel. It wasn't first published, but it was his first book that he wrote when he was like in his early 20s. So just for that, it was pretty impressive. I'm thinking I'm not like the target audience for this. So we have this dystopian America, and apparently, is it each year or something? They have this long walk competition, I want to say, right? Where like 100 teenage boys take part. By the end, only one left alive, and he gets like some big prize or something. Like that part for me was really underdeveloped. It wasn't like really explained much, like how it came to be, or like what does it do, like what is it for. Like it's just, you know, kind of a cool concept, but like underdeveloped. I really wanted to know more, like what is this thing. Like essentially it's like Hunger Games for like teenage boys, but where the Hunger Games has like this whole history, and it's all very well explained of like what it is, why is it still here, like it's still working because people watching. In this one, it was very vague. We have our protagonist who's 17, who volunteers. Well, they all volunteer, right? So because they want to get something out of it. But anyways, it's just a walk, and they had to go like 3 or 4 miles per hour at least. If they slow down, they get like 3 warnings, and after 3 warnings you get shot. And they go through these like towns and stuff, and there's like people cheering them up, they're like watching. So not the target audience for this one. I did finish it kind of already, like kind of forced myself to finish it. There was just so much horny teenage boy talk for me, and like not just horny, but like also like just stupid. I get you're like 17, but like we're here in the life or the death situation. Like what are we talking about? I don't know what to say about that one, to be honest. On one hand, it was like a very cool premise. There's like a lots of to explore. Like why is it only boys? Again, like very underdeveloped world itself, which was confusing. I did like the ending. The ending was I thought really good, and that is it. It's just the whole book, they just walking and like talking, and then somebody gets shot. At first I was kind of into it. I kind of lost interest throughout. I do see why people would like it. I just didn't, but I didn't have like any specific like bad issues with it. I just thought it was like fine one-time read. So 3 stars it is. Next audiobook I read this month was a memoir. I was kind of anticipating, really wanted to read it, and it is by one of Jeffrey Epstein survivors, Virginia Giuffre, she's probably like the loudest advocate for sex trafficking victims and against Jeffrey Epstein and some other people that was in his files. We all know about the files, right? I don't think I need to explain anyone who he is. Virginia was, I think, the most known survivor of his. Unfortunately, she's not with us anymore. She died by taking her own life, which I don't want to like spur any conspiracies or anything, but like a lot of people think that there might have been some foul play with that as well. While alive, she was working on her memoir, and she wanted that memoir to be published after her death, because I think she was just like too scared, because she does name names, but even in that book there was some names that she was like just too scared to name. Whew. Jesus, it's gonna be hard to talking about this one. She was very, very brave, very strong, exceptional woman. Was like not much to say. It's just her memoir. It is where she details her entire life, the life that was hard and full of abuse. She was abused ever since she was a little girl, allegedly, I guess I have to say, because it wasn't proven or anything, and her father still denies all the allegations, but allegedly he did abuse her sexually when she was little. And at some point she ran away from home. That's where she met some bad people, even before she met Jeffrey Epstein. And just as this was like the most heartbreaking probably out of it, as she started to get her life together again after all that abuse. On the job, she was kind of studying. She wanted to go study and be a massage therapist. That is where she meets Ghislaine Maxwell, and that is when she starts to being sex trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. I thought it was such a deep, devastating look into repeat abuse victims. It starts a lot of conversation of a lot of sexual abuse victims are not being believed simply because they've already accused somebody else before in like sexual abuse, and they're like, well, there is a history of like accusing people, but most of the time it's not. It's just how it works, because predators prey on vulnerable. Once you've been abused, you become vulnerable, and it affects your life, and it affects your psychic. People like Jeffrey Epstein, very perceptive to that. They seek out those kind of people that are in very vulnerable positions, sometimes desperate, sometimes they don't even realize that this nice person is not that nice, because they're just so desperate to get out of this cycle, to have somebody that wants to take care of them, that wants to love. She doesn't talk just about that. She also talks about her family and her children and her healing journey, and like her like warped perceptions of like the family and love and sex, and specifically, right, like sexual relationship. It was heartbreaking. It was very retrospective. Like, I really recommend everyone to read that book. She wrote it like with the help of ghostwriter, and it's really well written as well, so like, it makes the points that it wants to make. It just kind of forces you to see some things from different perspectives. It forces you to rethink some things, I guess, about victimhood and about power and about like and about the like the cycles of tough read, but I think it is necessary. Was first 5-star of the year for me, probably one of the most gripping memoirs I have ever read. Moving on to some more light topics. So as I said, I have also read some short stories this month. I had like 6 stories from a little collection put together by Blake Crouch for Amazon Collections, which consisted from like 6 sci-fi stories, all by different sci-fi writers. That it's called Forward. And I'm gonna need my notebook for this, my reading journal, just for the reference. By the way, I just put out a video of me updating my reading journal for January, so go check out that. I'll put the link right over here, just in case you're interested. This is my first like reading journal video, so I hope you like it. I am planning to make in some more of that kind of content, but anyways, go check it out, give it thumbs ups, all that kind of stuff. Moving on, so let's talk about the Evidence of the Affair first. That was the separate short story by Taylor Jenkins Reid that I finally got to read. It was a good story. So this is just a story of communication back and forth between 2 spouses whose spouses cheated on them with like the other spouses.
See, they don't know that we know that they know. Joey, do they know that we know?
No.
Joey?
They know you know.
Oh, I knew it! They don't know that we know they know we know.
We have 2 cheaters who cheated with each other on their spouses, and now said spouses start a letter communication. This is like in the 70s, so it was like just paper letters going back and forth between themselves, trying to figure out how to deal with it and how to move forward, and if they want to, I don't know, leave them or whatever. So they kind of struck up a friendship through those letters. And again, it's a short story, so I don't want to say too much. It is written in the form of these letters, and you kind of have to piece together like what kind of happened in the real life through those letters, which is again cool concept. I love when authors do some good, like nice, interesting structures and do something different with the way they write the books. And Taylor Jenkins Reid likes to do that with her books, and she kind of excels in this, and her writing never let me down yet. If you followed my channel even remotely closely, you know I love her writing. I love this author and I love her books. I keep putting off reading her like older stuff because like I want to enjoy it, but then once I'm done that, like I have nothing to read from her. So I've been just kind of procrastinating on that front, but I'll get there. I gave it 4 stars. It just was a little bit predictable, and it went how I thought it would go. It was a good story, a little bit of predictable, but interesting, nice short read. And okay, so moving on to the Forward collection, we have 6 stories written by 6 different authors in sci-fi. So we have Arc by Veronica Roth, we have Summer Frost by Blake Crouch, then we have Emergency Skin by M.K. Jameson, and we have You Have Arrived at Your Destination by Amar Towles. We have The Last Conversation by Paul Tremblay, and we have Randomized by Andy Weir. I'm gonna start from the bottom to the top, rated at 2 stars. We have Arc by Veronica Roth, which was disappointing. I do like her books because I did read her When Amon Crows, I think it's called, series of like little novellas. Like I read the first one but not the next one, and just I found it lacking. Still, it was better than Ark. Ark was such a nothing story. We have the scientists kind of working on cataloging plants or something because the world is ending. They have already shipped colonies to go to the other planets, but these are like the last people left because they're doing the work, and then they'll go on the last ship off the Earth. It started out kind of promising, but it ended up being such like nothing, and the ending did not make sense to me. The next one will be Randomized by Andy Weir, which is again disappointing because I love his stuff. He like really quickly became an author to like watch for me. Like I really enjoy his stuff. But I think the problem was with Randomized is he kind of stepped away, which hey, I respect it. He stepped away of his comfort zone and tried to write something different. I gave it 2.5 stars. Like it was fine. It was a story, but again, it was kind of a nothing story. There was something about the casinos and this randomizing machines that like randomize the numbers open up, like this algorithm, and there's this new technology coming out that like because they're not truly random, but this one will be like unhackable and all that stuff. Scams and some things happening. It's so hard to talk about the short stories because they're so short, like you don't even really know what to talk about plot wise because everything seems like a spoiler. Moving forward, I have 3 stars, and it is Emergency Skin by N.K. Jemisin and You Have Arrived at Your Destination, Amor Towels, which both of them started out so promising but so like very cool concept, but the execution fell very flat and the ending didn't quite end anything. In at least at one of them, it was kind of like open-ended, I guess, and I was like, okay, so like, what? How did it end? I need the ending. It's a short story. You need to have an ending. So Emergency Skin, on the surface, cool concept, great themes discussing maybe like things like racism, sexism, classism, like all the isms, and good theme also in like You Have Arrived at Your Destination of like our choices versus what we are like predisposed to and how life comes out and if you really can change anything. Also like nature versus nurture. It was like pretty cool concept. We have this couple that is trying to conceive a child. They kind of get this help from this genetic company that is kind of borderline on eugenics, but they kind of scientifically help to predict basically the qualities of the child and pick and choose certain genes that would predispose them towards certain success. And we're not talking necessarily about like the looks and stuff and race and like whatever, or like certain illnesses, I guess they can prevent as well, but that's not the point. The point is they put in like some profiles of possible children that they can get and what kind of life they would have. That's all I'm gonna say because again, spoilers. But I found it so intriguing, so interesting, and at first I thought the execution was pretty good, but then that ending kind of ruined everything. On the surface, it was interesting, so I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. The Emergency Scan, however, really lacked nuance and was kind of naive take on like such big problems. So we have person in this kind of bionicle suit returning to Earth after it was kind of destroyed, seeing that actually it was not destroyed. Oh my gosh, it's so hard to explain without spoiling stuff. But basically, the people still are there and they seem very happy, and this like utopia world with no hate, I guess, at all. Okay, let's go into spoilers because I cannot talk about this one specifically without spoilers and why I gave it 3 stars, but it was extremely lacking in nuance. Basically, we have this big evil man that are greedy, sexist, and whatever, and they left the Earth when it started kind of like at the end of the world kind of thing, and they moved the colony to the other planet, and in that planet they're all like men and they reproduce artificially and they only have like women like for like to meet their needs biologically speaking. And they sent this person back to Earth to collect some materials that they need. And they think that like it's empty, that there is no people left because end of the world and nobody could survive and all stuff. Like all the people that's left in there, they could not have possibly survived. But they did, and more than that, they are thriving. So basically, the moral of the story was, look, we got all the white middle-aged sexist men out, and now it's an idyllic world, which that's not how it's gonna work. Like, it's such a simplistic thing, but that's how it came across. I don't know. And they're all like, you know, so nice to him, and they give them the, oh, you came for this, well, here you go, if you wanna leave, leave. Like, nobody's keeping you, and all that kind of stuff. It's cool ideas, right? But I think it's a wrong idea for a short story because it's way too vast and you cannot explore all the nuance and all the potential like consequences. It just was not it, which was surprising because it was like, it's N.K. Jemisin and like she is very good with that. So I don't know what happened there. But and for my last two reads, which were both 5 stars, these are two of my favorite stories from that collection, and it is Summerfrost by Blake Crouch and The Last Conversation by Fulton Blake. I think both of these stories did what they needed to do in a concise, to the point manner, which is the whole point of the short story. Good endings with a point to it, and they were entertaining and well written all throughout, start to end. With the Summerfrost, we have take on the AI basically, where the character from a game kind of becomes aware of itself, and eventually with the help of her creator, she kind of gets transported into the real world. And in The Last Conversation, I think you should go into this one super blind, so I'm not gonna tell you the premise. Even the premise is like spoiler, just go in. It starts off, we have character waking up in the room, and there's like gaps in the memory, and she doesn't know like where she is, what she is, and there's just voice talking to her. That's all I'm gonna say. Concise, to the point. It was actually like, it was impressive because it was the shortest story, but it managed to do the most. In the, like, it was 28 pages, but like it did what it did. Whereas we have 58 pages of N.K. Jemisin's, and it didn't do what it thought it would do, I guess. And that is my reading month of January. Let me know what you thought of those books, if you read any of them, if you're interested to read any of them. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you will tune in for my next one. Do subscribe, like the video, leave me a comment. I will love you forever. I'll see you in the next video.